Welcome, Capricorn, to your May Moon Magic 1 month forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. May has 5 key lunations, 2 of them quarter moons, always influential, but at its heart, a stunning new moon, particularly for you. The moon's very much about nurture, protectiveness, and security. I'm going to share the chart for each of those events, but from a purely Capricornian viewpoint. Mars, a very different energy, is also hugely influential this month and interacts with each of those lunations. By the end of the video, Capricorn, you'll have a clearer understanding of what the next month holds in terms of your energy, work, relationships, and finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. On the screen is the Scorpio full moon as we enter May. And for you, the moon is in the friendly 11th house. And that can be very much to do with social interaction, but the moon is very complex in the sign of Scorpio, can be quite protective, even somewhat suspicious. So if there are any friendships you're unsure of, that could show up over the first 2 weeks of the month. But also, it's in an opposition with the sun, which is in a part of your chart, which is urging you to showcase your unique talent and flair, and most of all, your charisma. But if you do decide to end a romantic or friendship at the very start of this month, do be assured there's some very big possibilities heading your way. But if you do find there's tension, it could be because values or finances don't align. Pluto, the planet very much to do with power and transformation, is in a tense right angle with the moon and also the sun. And that T square, all of the planets are in fixed signs. So that can create tension and rigidity when it's better to try to just flex. However, it could also be that something just is out of alignment in terms of your time management, particularly if you're trying to please your friends a little bit too much. So maybe the inference here is about being a bit firmer around your boundaries. But because Jupiter, the planet of optimism and fortune, is continuing in your sector of relationships through to the end of June, I think on the whole, your choice will be to try to keep things as even as possible. Right at the beginning of the month, your ruler Saturn forges a very stabilizing link to Venus, the planet of related. But that link to Saturn perhaps points towards doing something decorative or changing something or indulging in a hobby that helps you to express your flair, but also gives you something tangible, the outcome, which always earth signs appreciate. But Venus in Gemini also likes a degree of mental stimulation. So perhaps the new moon is encouraging you to interact more, particularly if you've been very busy with other things. And with Saturn in that fourth house now for the next 2 years, you kind of do need to push yourself to not spend too much time at home. But Mars, the planet of thrust and desire, is in a square with Jupiter at the start of this month. If there is someone on your celestial radar that you're drawn to, Mars, in a way, could tempt you to step outside your comfort zone and reach out to them. But by the time we get to the quarter moon, the first quarter moon on the ninth Capricorn, it's in Aquarius. And for you, the moon in Aquarius can actually be very generous. It's the second house, it's where Pluto is. But here it can, in the square with the sun, which is what a quarter moon is, really promote generosity. It may be that someone you're quite close to will ask for some financial help, and you may remind them that this is something that's become perhaps a little too frequent. And if that's the case, maybe it's a time for them to take a bit more responsibility for their own resources. But Mercury moved on the 3rd of May into Taurus, and it's going to merge with the sun at the heart of this month. So when it comes to those talents, I want you to take them really seriously, because look at the placement of Jupiter to the sun. So by the time you get to that quarter moon, which could see you want to be more spontaneous with resources. You may want to reach out to someone. That early Mars energy is still manifesting in the square to Jupiter, but it's declining, whereas the energy of the Sun to Jupiter is increasing. And that can be very fortunate. So if that full moon at the start of the month did see something come to a close, socially or romantically, know this is one of the most gorgeous influences you could have developing possible. Now, if we look at the Taurus super new moon on the 16th, it's just after Mercury has merged with the Sun in the cazimi. So those brilliant epiphyseal energies of Mercury, amplified by the Sun, helps you to have extra confidence in your talents. But that's what this new moon can be about as well. But the interesting thing, and it's in the third decan, which is subruled by your ruler Saturn. So it's kind of saying to you, take that flair and artistry seriously. Don't underestimate it. Now, the sun and the moon are separating from Jupiter. It's not quite as strong as on the quarter moon. But what we have in place is a great link between Mars and Venus. Now, obviously, the passion of Mars in Aries is lovely, and the flirtatiousness of Venus in Gemini is not bad either. So that may mean that if you are showing that extra desire to get out from being at home and interact, you could have some upsides. But you can see Mars is in that conjunction with Chiron. A good time to think about your emotional basis, and if that is in some ways inhibiting you from really showing the confidence to drive forwards in all sorts of parts of your life. But at the very heart of this month, beyond this new moon, we do have Capricorn, three big changes. Mercury zips into second home of the month of Gemini, which it rules, on the 17th. Mars moves into Taurus on the 18th, and Venus moves into Cancer on the 19th. Now, they all have enormous significance because what Mercury is going to do is meet up with Uranus in Gemini for the first time in 77 years. We've also got the angle, the sextile between Mars and Venus is better for you in the second half of this month. So the chances are, with Venus having moved into your seventh house, which can be very lucky for relationships, and Mars into your sector of desire and passion and risk, your love life can definitely continue to be rejuvenated, or your social situation in the second half of this month. That brings us to the second quarter moon on the 23rd, but it's quite complex. Because we have Uranus next to the sun in the square with the moon, for sure, again, the rarity of that cannot be underestimated. So that's not happened for all those years, 77 years. But it could also bring an electric energy to your situation because the sun moving into your sixth house, joining up with Uranus, can make you mindful of something that does need changing or reforming. And if you have had some pretty stable patterns or structures in your life, Uranus being in Gemini full time for the next 7 years could be a challenge at times, but it's definitely an opportunity. And none of us can deny that Uranus in Gemini is just going to accelerate all the technological changes that are flat out as they are. But if you, that sixth, ninth house energy could bring up a little bit of perhaps maybe feeling on edge, unsettled, perhaps ungrounded. You might not feel on your best form on that quarter moon, but also Mars, although it's forging that stunning alliance with Venus, is forging a really challenging one to Pluto. We go back to the start of the month with the full moon. If that disagreement was over values or money, but you're still with the same person, the disagreement can intensify over the last 10 months. The disagreement can intensify over the last 10 days if it's not resolved. And that brings us through to the final event of the month, which is the blue moon. Now, just to say that the moon cycle is just over 29 days, multiplied by 12, it's just over 365. So every 2.7 years, we get a blue moon, the second full moon of the calendar month. There's two types of blue moons, but that's the calendar one. Now, to understand the moon patterns, I've produced a factoid. You can download it below. Tells you about the astrology, the astronomy, the mythology, but also tells you about what sign your moon is in and also what house too. Completely free. Please see that below. But for you, this particular full moon is actually quite challenging because the moon is in the 12th house, but the moon itself is in the very liberation loving sign of Sagittarius, whereas the sun is in the 6th house of commitments and responsibilities. But the key is Mars. Mars is in a quincunx with that moon position. So something you want to do to have enjoyment and pleasure, and maybe it is to do with finance, spending money to enjoy yourself, it could have an impact in a relationship situation if you're not aligned with a partner. And I think your physical and emotional energy can be a little bit out of kilter as this month draws to a close, particularly as Uranus is in a T square with the nodal axis. So just be conscious of that. A lot of nervous energy towards the end of this month. However, as far as those relationship prospects are concerned, we have Venus and Jupiter together in your 7th house. They're going to be coming into a beautiful conjunction on the 9th of June. Do look out for my special on that. But just to summarize, as far as your relationships are concerned, it does depend on your unique circumstances. If you've got a good balance around your time between what you want to do and what you would like to do with your friends or in your social life, that won't be affected by the full moon at the start of the month. But if you're not enjoying a relationship and it does end of any kind, there is the chance for a rebirth as the month goes on, but it could be new and very exciting, and you could have a fabulous connection to someone. Your work suggests that changes in the air. There's little point resisting it for any of us, but it could be actually quite exciting if you do embrace it. Now, your 5th house, where we have the Sun and Mercury and then Mars, can be about speculation. And therefore, if you are wanting to use your resources in a more risk-taking way, certainly the square between Mars and Pluto in the last 10 days could suggest you're tempted to do something, but I wouldn't do it without a great deal of care. And then energetically, I think at the very end of the month, you could just feel a little bit lower in vitality. And it's a good time perhaps just to step back a little bit and do some really healing and a very nurturing self-care. Things like having a spa day, a massage, whatever it is that helps you just to unwind. I've slashed the price of my personal horoscope reports. It's now 3 for the price of 1. You pay for your life roadmap report, which helps us to understand the patterns that are played out so far, but get a more intimate understanding of them and work with those energies future forwards that much better. Free, you get your 12 months transit forecast and also your draconic soul karmic analysis. 3 for the price of 1. Please see below for more. Why? I've been full-time for 30 years, but my interest in astrology came through when I was 14. The first classical album I ever got was The Planets, which is about astrology, not astronomy. And ever since then, it's been a major part of my life. Natal astrology helps us to really navigate this particular journey that much better. By sharing the love about natal astrology, I hope to help others too. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your May monthly forecast, please see that on the screen. Yet to watch your Pluto retrograde 5-month forecast on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, please see my testimonials below. And if you've yet to take advantage of my free daily written horoscope fired to your device each morning, please do so now. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Capricorn. Thank you so much for joining me. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a great May.